Hey, welcome to the Infinite Creator. I'm Beth Lapidus. So, listen, today we're going to talk about how to read a rough draft. It's such a particular place in a project. I mean, there are so many different points in a project, right? We don't always know which one we're in either, especially in the middle. There's so many muddled moments, but there are a couple of extremely clear points in a project. The blue sky moment, is it a shiny object? Is it real? The final finishing moments, whether it's spell check for writers or spotting for a photographer. And the trick with these different points is to know where you are so that you can figure out how to navigate that particular moment because they're all really different. And one of the clearest, and it's no mistaking it, one of the absolute clearest and trickiest places is reading your rough draft. Now, it's tricky for two reasons. One, we're creative and we tend to look for problems. I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get distracted by that today. We are going to get into that another time. Second reason, most of the time when we are reading finished work, right? And on top of that, we're probably reading things because we love them or we admire them or we want to be inspired by them. We're reading stuff that's elevated. So whether or not your final draft can live up to that elevation is an eventual question, but not the question today and not the first question. The first question is how to read your rough draft so that you can get to a first draft which might eventually turn into something that you're proud of, or even satisfied with, or perhaps accepting as the next step towards something that is amazing. Okay, so first things first, like absolutely you have to, is print out. I know it seems obvious to some people, but there are so many people who don't want to print out. They just don't. And I know, listen, paper, I know. Plant trees, buy recycled, do it judiciously, but really you do have to print out your rough draft. You don't have to do it if it's a post or a Substack, but anything of any length that you need to take in, anything with any real complexity, a book, a show, a talk, print it out. We've gotten so used to doing everything on the screen, but something happens when you print out. It becomes real, the work becomes real in a different way, it becomes external. Yeah, you can edit on your computer, but you are more inside the thing when it's on your computer. There's something about holding it in your hands. It's outside of you and closer to becoming itself, this other thing that isn't you. The computer, it's internal. And so this is a micro moment before you print out. Make sure that you double space. You might be writing in single space because when you write in single space on the computer, you can see more on the screen. I get that. I do that. But on paper, you want air. You want blank space, room for the reader to imagine, think, feel. Don't make the pages so dense that there's only room for the words. You can barely get through them. You really want room for the future. And this seems obvious, but in case you don't, put a header on, you know, put a header, put the number, page number, date in the header, along with even a temp title. Because at some point you'll be walking to get coffee and drop the pages, and you got to put them back in order. Honestly, that moment, maybe it's creative and you get to see things in a new, happy accident way. But sometimes, you drop the pages and there goes your writing session. And the date is really helpful because you're going to write another draft and then you're going to have them both sitting there. And then you're like, which is which? And do these pages go with the, and just do your future self a favor and make a header, page numbers, temp title, date. Okay, second thing, you need 3 pens. 3 pens. First, you need a pen. Any pen, random pen. It could be your favorite pen, could be whatever pen is there, but a writing pen, just a pen. And then you need a highlighter. I like yellow for this because it's very perky. Oh, look, I've yellow, so perky, so sunshiny. But look, if you want to use blue or green or pink, I save pink for memorizing scripts. We all have our systems. But anyway, whatever highlighter floats your boat. And third, you need a Sharpie. Black, I think that goes without saying. But just in case you're thinking purple or something crazy, just stay basic here. A black Sharpie. And God, I love a Sharpie. You know, big pen, big ideas. Sharpies are also great for brainstorming, but here's how to use them uh, in the reading the rough draft. The highlighter, obviously, for highlights. You know, you're marking off things you love, lines you're delighted with. Did I write that? Oh, I did. Things that feel central to the whole thing, important paragraphs, something that clarifies anything else. Highlight, just highlight what you love. But the Sharpie is your weapon of choice for most of this reading. You use it to delete, like, I like a wave through text. If it's a line, a paragraph, even like a whole page. I just love the feeling of making a wave, right? Maybe you prefer a loopy editor's delete. Some people use X's. I feel that's very, I don't know. That's too much for me. But the editors also, when they see the editor's delete sign, I'm always a little confused. Did it go to that word or that whole line? Or so I just really do love to make a wave through what I want to cut. Um, and then a squiggle. Squiggle to me is the main thing about reading a rough draft. In the margin, a squiggle, and it means something. It just means, I'm not sure what, but something's not right. I guess I'm going to need to clarify this. I'm going to need to think about it. Squiggle. Squiggle it away. Think about it later. That's what the Sharpie is also really good for arrows. Maybe you love it, but it should go somewhere else. Circle an arrow. Maybe even write earlier or later, just like these big instructions for yourself. Sharpie, that's your Sharpie. Something it's not uncertainty about a whole section. You can just have a big question mark, right? If it's really a question and not a squiggle, you can write the word like why, who, more, bathtub story, question mark, whatever it is. And then your pen, like your regular old pen, very sparingly, like, because you don't want to get distracted by rewriting. You definitely will want to fix things while you're reading your rough draft, but you want to keep from really getting too in the specifics about it, because you want a sense of the whole thing. That's really what you're after here, is getting a sense what the whole thing is. So if you hear a line or like even get a paragraph of clarity, yeah, write it down. If you get like, oh, I get the structure and I want to write a little note of that, a little, list, write that on a piece of paper, and that paper is gold. It shouldn't be too much on it, but it should be amazing. Okay, so moving from the office supply section of how to read your rough draft into the deep end. Um, who are you when you read the rough draft? And oddly, you are more than one person. First, you are, of course, the same person who wrote the thing, but you're also not that person anymore. Literally, you've changed. You became the person who's already written the thing. And it's that alchemical part of the process, you know, believe in the magic of words. I mean, you are a writer, right? Believe in the transformation. Know that some transformation has already taken place as you wrote the rough draft and is continuing as you read it and will continue. So by name and astrology sign, etc., you are the same person, obviously, but atomically changed, changing, right? And you are also at the same time imagining yourself into the future, the one who will have written the next draft. Now, they're a better writer than you, partly because you did such a good job reading your rough draft, right? You're you're helping yourself become yourself. That's the infinity. And to that end, you also have to not be you. So free choice, when you're not you, you can be your ideal reader, the person you're trying to help or trying to entertain. You can also be your agent, your editor. But while you are those people, you are the most enlightened version of them, the one that knows what comes next and knows it isn't finished. It's just a draft, but they're excited for you and they're cheering you on. Those are the two people you are. And here's a big piece of it. What to look for while you're reading. What to look for is the thread. You want to look for places where you lost the thread. Like, do you know what story that the author, that's you, what story the author is telling like the whole time, or is exploring the ideas that the author is exploring? Or is there a place where you lose the coherence, like it just drifts? If so, um, do you know what the story that you're telling or still finding is? Either way. Okay. So sometimes the whole is going to reveal the parts, and sometimes the parts are going to reveal the whole. It's okay if you don't see the thread the whole time, but look for it and try to find it. And use the Sharpie if you get lost. Big letters like story, question mark, or setup, question mark, or, big letters, theme. What is it? Where did you lose the thread? That's a squiggle. And try not to be beating yourself up here. Like, it's a rough draft. Think about that. Rough, bumpy, uneven. So when it isn't smooth, like, just notice how. Don't use all the energy that you might be using to smoothen it to beat yourself for it being so rough. Be compassionate with yourself. Accept the roughness. This is what it is. This is not the time to be brutal. If you want to be rigorous, okay. Tough love, fine. But compassionately, like, maybe a more helpful attitude to think about is willing to see, to understand, to shepherd, to listen, to receive instruction, and even to love yourself for getting this far. Love and look at and be willing for the road ahead. One thing to notice when you're reading is, are you bored? Ew, that's the worst feeling. Like you're reading your own thing and you're bored. Just squiggle, squiggle, squiggle. And maybe you didn't get to the real truth somewhere. Maybe you wrote all the boring things around the one hard thing that you don't want to say or you can't find. Say the thing. Know that the boring details were so boring. You had to write them. You had to work hard at them. They've done their job. Now you can get to the thing that they were about and let it go. Procedurally, also, while you're reading, know when to take a break. If you really feel full, like you've done enough for the day, just stop. Don't make yourself read more. Just stop. Lie on the couch, take a walk, get on your yoga mat. You are mentally and emotionally digesting. Maybe you only read one page. Maybe you read the hardest, most boring page and like, what? And one question to ask at this point is, what's missing? Like, one thing that you may not have notes about when you finish reading, but that is important, is figuring out what's missing. But like as you make dinner, you might remember like, oh, the bathtub story that goes between the braces and the 4th of July thing. Ah, yeah, I have to write that in. Fine. You were just rushing to get through your rough draft. Like, there is something about the momentum of finishing that draft. So just make a note, bathroom story or whatever it is. Um, don't try to write the whole story in, make some bullet points. But the main thing is, if something, this is really a porous place, and let yourself take in what it is that's missing will come to you as you're reading a rough draft. So, you've been walking the path, that the rough draft is helping you see where the path is reading, I was going to say, but leading. You're reading and the path is leading somewhere. So this is just a step. The rough draft is a step on the path. And really remember, it's not about liking this draft. Just like try to get out of like, do I like it? It's about seeing what needs to be done to get to that first draft. And even then, like, phew. So, once you finish your first draft, so many more questions about how to read the first draft and what to do about the first draft. But first, we have to get you to a rough draft. And also, did you finish a rough draft? Did I congratulate you? That's amazing. Congratulations. Yay. You finished it. So thanks so much for being with me today. Go do all the things, like, share, comment, subscribe. It actually does make a difference, helps more people get help. And I hope that you have a great creative day. Till next time, I'm Beth Lapidus.